Hey everyone, and welcome back to MetaCast. I'm John,
And I'm Maya.
and we are diving deep today into something that's really got everyone in the tech world talking.
Yeah, DeepSeek, this Chinese AI company,
Yeah, they've kind of come out of nowhere.
seemingly overnight.
Yeah, challenging these giants like NVIDIA and OpenAI.
And, it's one thing to challenge them, but it's another thing to do it with the claims that they're making about how they're getting these results.
Right, so let's talk about that. Let's start with their launch. Level Up covered this recently, and they've released these two new AI models, DeepSeek V3 and DeepSeek R1. And the claims around them are pretty bold.
Definitely. They're claiming that these models are on par, if not better, than leading models developed in the US, which is a big claim in and of itself.
Huge.
But even more striking is the claim that they trained their V3 model for less than $6 million in computing power.
Yeah, $6 million.
Which, if that's true, is a tiny fraction of what companies like OpenAI are spending.
Tiny, like, that's the thing that has everyone scratching their head. Like, how is that possible? When we're talking about AI models that, are supposedly rivaling, some of the most advanced systems out there.
Right. And Level Up speculates that maybe they're employing some incredibly innovative and efficient algorithms.
Okay.
Maybe they're leveraging unique data sets or training methods that we're not even aware of.
It's like they found a secret shortcut
Right.
in AI development, and the implications of that are huge, especially if they can maintain this level of performance
Yeah.
at such a low cost.
Absolutely. I mean, this could be a game changer for the entire industry. Imagine a world where access to cutting-edge AI isn't limited to these companies with billion-dollar budgets.
It's like they're democratizing AI,
Yeah.
making it accessible to all these companies and researchers who previously couldn't even dream of competing on this level.
Absolutely. And that's certainly the narrative that DeepSeek is pushing, and it's resonating with a lot of people. But we also need to acknowledge the skepticism, right? There are experts out there who are questioning, how valid are these claims about the development costs?
Mm-hmm.
Are there hidden expenses? Are there undisclosed factors at play?
It does sound almost too good to be true.
It does, and that's why we need to dig deeper and look beyond the initial hype.
Right.
And we'll explore those doubts later on.
Okay, so DeepSeek is shaking things up with this low-cost approach.
Yeah.
But what does this actually mean for the companies that have been dominating the AI landscape?
Yeah.
Level Up kind of paints a pretty stark picture of the impact, especially on companies like NVIDIA and OpenAI.
Yeah, they highlight that contrast. OpenAI, for example, is currently valued at $157 billion,
Wow.
which is an incredible amount of money.
It is.
And with that valuation comes immense pressure to justify their spending and maintain their lead
For sure.
in this increasingly competitive AI race.
Yeah.
And so DeepSeek's emergence really throws a wrench into that whole dynamic.
And then there's NVIDIA, the chip-making powerhouse.
Right, the company that's been so central to the AI boom.
Yeah, and their stock took a major hit after DeepSeek kind of came onto the scene, plummeting by 17%. We're talking almost $600 billion wiped off their market value in a single day.
Just like that, which is a clear indication that investors are taking DeepSeek very seriously.
Yeah, they're not playing around.
Not at all.
So the Level Up article doesn't really dive too deep into the technical differences between DeepSeek's models and, their U.S. counterparts.
Right.
So I think to get into that, we should look at some of our other sources.
Absolutely, because understanding those technical nuances will give us a much better perspective on how significant DeepSeek's claims really are.
Exactly. So to get into that, we'll look at a TechCrunch analysis that came out recently, and also a comparative study from the Allen Institute for Artificial Intelligence.
Perfect. Those should give us a good foundation for understanding what's going on under the hood.
This is where it gets interesting.
Yeah, let's see what we can find out about the tech behind the headlines.
Let's do it.
All right, so let's get into some of those technical details. The TechCrunch analysis gives a pretty good overview of DeepSeek's two main models, DeepSeek V3, which powers their AI assistant, and then DeepSeek R1, which seems to be more geared towards research and development.
Okay. And how do they stack up against something like GPT-4, which is considered one of the most advanced models out there?
Yeah, that's where the Allen Institute study is really helpful. They did a head-to-head comparison, across several different benchmarks like natural language understanding, code generation problem solving.
So what did they find? Was DeepSeek really able to, hold its own against a heavyweight like GPT-4?
Yeah, the results were actually pretty impressive for tasks involving natural language understanding, like reading comprehension, text summarization. DeepSeek V3 did remarkably well, even slightly outperforming GPT-4 in a few instances.
Wow. So they're really going toe-to-toe.
Yeah, I mean, it suggests that they found a way to get comparable, if not superior, performance in certain areas while using, significantly fewer resources.
That's huge, especially considering the difference in, those development costs that we talked about.
Exactly right.
But what about other areas like code generation?
Hmm.
That's a key strength of GPT-4, and it's a task that requires a lot of computational power.
Right, and that's where we start to see some differences. While DeepSeek R1 showed that it could handle code generation, it wasn't quite on the same level as GPT-4 in terms of, complexity and accuracy.
Okay.
The study suggests that for those really specialized tasks, like code generation, that raw computing power might still give models like GPT-4 an edge.
So it's not a complete victory for DeepSeek?
No, not at all.
They've got strengths and weaknesses, just like any AI model out there.
Exactly. It's not a simple case of, one being universally better than the other. It seems to depend on the specific task and what you're trying to achieve.
This is really fascinating. So DeepSeek might not be a total GPT-4 killer, but it's clear that they're a force to be reckoned with.
Definitely.
And this low-cost approach,
Mm.
raises some really interesting questions about the future of AI development.
It does. I mean, does this mean that we've been overspending on AI? Do we really need those massive data centers, those supercomputers, to move the field forward?
Right, because DeepSeek's success suggests that maybe there's a more efficient path,
Yeah.
one that doesn't require these astronomical budgets.
Right. And if that's the case, then that opens up a whole new world of possibilities.
It does. Smaller companies, startups, you know, even individual researchers could potentially develop really powerful AI tools without breaking the bank.
Exactly. And that could lead to, an explosion of innovation with new ideas and applications coming from all over the place.
It's almost like DeepSeek is, giving us this blueprint for democratizing access to AI, making it a more level playing field.
It's a very compelling vision, and it's generating a lot of excitement. But like any disruptive technology, there are also potential challenges and concerns that we need to consider.
Okay, so let's talk about those concerns. Yeah. What are some of the potential downsides of DeepSeek's rise?
Well, one of the biggest concerns revolves around the company's origins, their ties to the Chinese government. Right.
And this raises questions about data privacy and potential bias in their models.
And Level Up touches on this a little bit. They mention that DeepSeek stores user data on servers located in China,
Right.
which has raised some eyebrows, especially considering, China's approach to data security and government surveillance.
It's definitely a legitimate concern, and it's one that DeepSeek is going to have to address very transparently if they want to gain wider acceptance and trust, especially from users outside of China.
And then there's also the question of transparency around their development process. Skeptics are still wondering how they managed to achieve these results with such a seemingly low budget.
Yeah, DeepSeek hasn't been totally open about their methods, which, it fuels speculation and raises doubts about the long-term sustainability of their approach.
So it seems like DeepSeek's low-cost model, has the potential to revolutionize AI development, but it's not without its challenges. They've got to address these concerns if they want to really change the game. Absolutely. The road ahead for DeepSeek is going to be fascinating to watch. They've disrupted the status quo, but whether they can navigate these complexities and build a sustainable future remains to be seen.
And that brings us to, I think, another crucial aspect of the DeepSeek story, the man behind it all, Liang Wenfeng. He's a relatively unknown figure, but now he's suddenly thrust into the spotlight. So let's shift gears a little bit and take a closer look at his background and what led him to create DeepSeek. So we've talked about, their technology, their impact, but who is this guy?
Right. Who is the mastermind behind all this?
Yeah.
Well, the Level Up article gives us a little bit of background on Liang Wenfeng, the founder of DeepSeek. And he's not, your typical Silicon Valley tech CEO. His background is actually in quantitative trading.
Interesting. So that involves like using complex algorithms and mathematical models to make investment decisions, right?
Exactly, yeah. So very data-driven.
Okay, so how did he go from Wall Street to AI?
Well, it seems that his company, Highflyer, they initially focused on quantitative trading, but then they started applying their expertise in algorithms and data analysis to AI.
So he saw the potential early on
He did, yeah.
and pivoted to kind of capitalize on it. That's pretty smart.
Yeah, very forward-thinking. And it's not just, a personal ambition. It seems that the Chinese government is also very interested in DeepSeek.
Yeah, Level Up mentioned that he was invited to a closed-door symposium hosted by the Chinese premier. I mean, that's a pretty big deal, right?
It is, yeah, absolutely. It suggests that, they see DeepSeek as a key player in this push for technological self-sufficiency.
So DeepSeek's rise isn't just a business story. It's It's geopolitics.
It's all intertwined, yeah.
It's a reminder that, the race for AI dominance is happening on this global scale.
Definitely.
And DeepSeek's low-cost model kind of adds this whole other layer to that competition.
It does.
What if they can actually keep delivering on their promises?
Right. What if access to this cutting-edge AI is no longer determined by, who has the deepest pockets?
It changes everything.
It could have huge implications for innovation, economic development, global influence.
Yeah, that's a really interesting thought. But as we've discussed, there are also potential risks
Of course.
and challenges with DeepSeek's approach these concerns about data privacy, transparency, and potential bias.
Absolutely. And that's where, we as individuals and as a society need to really engage with these questions and shape the future of AI in a responsible and ethical way.
Yeah, we can't just accept every new development without thinking about, what are the consequences.
Exactly. We need to demand transparency from companies like DeepSeek.
Right.
We need to establish clear guidelines for data privacy and security, and we need to be really vigilant about, the potential for bias
For sure.
and the misuse of these technologies.
Yeah. It's a lot to consider, but, the DeepSeek story really highlights the importance of having these conversations. It's a wake-up call, I think, for the whole industry, and a reminder that, the future of AI, it's not predetermined.
It's something we're all shaping together.
Yeah, whether we realize it or not. So as we wrap up this deep dive into DeepSeek, here's what I want you to take away. This is just the beginning.
Yeah.
Keep an eye on DeepSeek. Stay informed about the broader AI landscape. And most importantly, keep asking questions.
Absolutely. The future of AI is in our hands. Let's make sure we shape it wisely.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks for joining us on MetaCast. We'll be back soon with another deep dive into the world of technology and innovation. Until then, stay curious.